Jen, hey, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tony.
Good. Everybody meet Jen Patton. And again, this is audio, so we can't see your smiling face here right here. But you're my first guest on our new series called No One's Special, which can be misinterpreted as a very insulting title. I'd like to talk to this person. They're not special. And and I thought about that, and I said, fuck people who think that way. It really, if they read the premise and the preface when I posted it, a lot of times, and for those of you who haven't heard it, why it's called No One Special is, I have a very unique set of skills that I try to share with good people all over the world, from first responders all the way down to citizens, good Samaritans. And it's basically this message on how do you handle fucking evil when it's up close and personal. And, built on this whole, you're the first responder in your confrontation, and how to be your own bodyguard, how to be a courageous bystander, how to recognize fear, and so on and so forth. And I get emails on a regular basis from people who just want to share their story because they were either inspired by something they read, they were a graduate of a course, they picked up a DVD or an audio we did years ago. We had a guy, I'm still trying to track him down, who I trained 20 years ago in Montreal, Jen, who is now, he's like literally a rocket scientist. He's an inventor, and he was walking in where was it? I think Vancouver, and some homeless guy asked him for some money, and he went to gesture to give him some money, and the guy tried to stab him with a screwdriver, and he startled flinch and hits him with a spear that he had learned from me like 15 years ago. He hasn't even trained. He did a minuscule amount of training, but he emails me like, hey, like 15, 20 years ago, you showed me this and it worked. It worked. Someone tried to stab me yesterday. And he was like, I get crazy, but always in that, story, or in that letter, is somebody saying, I'm no one special, I'm not trained. And it's always this, and I explained, to people that everyone's special. That's part of our Be Your Own Bodyguard methodology and message, that you're not going to protect yourself if you don't feel that there's something worth to protect, right? And so it's a deeper thing like that. And again, because this is the first show, I want to let people know that everyone's special. What we mean by, hey, nobody's special, is somebody who's not trying to sell a book, not somebody who's not trying to market something, or somebody who's not like a guru, like some instructor guru. And I think that's critical. So, Jen, the reason, and now I want to get to you, the reason I contacted you to lead off here is you had a crazy experience right after training with me. How many years ago was it?
God, I bet it's 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It's a while ago.
But I remember, I remember you messaging me through Facebook Messenger going, oh, I think you saved my life last night, and I was like, whoa. And I always remember those things, like who could forget something like that? But let's jump in, because you've had a couple of incidents since our training, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then just jump into the story.
Sure. So first of all, I didn't know I was the first guest, so incredibly
you are
honored. That's so awesome. And thank you for doing this, because when I first heard about it, I immediately thought to myself, there's no doubt that the people who listen to this will hear a nugget that they will take away. And then you're going to get another email that says, holy shit, Tony is listening to your podcast and heard this, and that saved my life. So, we met, I don't remember the year, but it was at CrossFit Las Vegas, and you were there with Jess. Met both of you. I was expecting, I think it was called Be Your Own Bodyguard, maybe. I don't.
Right. The first ones were, yeah.
Uh-huh. And fully went in expecting to learn cool ninja tricks, and how am I going to punch somebody in the throat? How am I going to flip somebody? Like I expected it to be very, I don't know, karate, who knows, right?
Right.
And it wasn't, because what you taught was how to use your mind and how to use your brain and be aware of your surroundings and be aware of your situation that's surrounding you and listen to your gut, right? Like in the incidents I'll share, like you have, whether it's 2 seconds, a split second, like, holy shit, something's wrong. You got to listen to that. And I remember you said that people want your body, your property, or your life, or all three. And it stuck with me. And I walked away thinking, wow, that was a really interesting class, very different than I thought. And little did I know I would have to use it not once, but twice, actually probably 3 times. We had moved from Vegas to Palo Alto, and my now husband, we're doing a startup. When I talk about lean startup, I was at Home Depot in East Palo Alto. And for those of you listening, I don't know if you know about East Palo Alto. I knew nothing about East Palo Alto. Later found out it was like the highest murder capita in the country at one point.
Oh, wow.
And I was at a Home Depot. It's closing. It's 10 o'clock at night. My credit card got declined. I'm pissed because I'm tired, and I'm like buying boards and doors because we're going to build our own desks out of the cheapest thing possible, right? Typical Silicon Valley startup. And I get in the car and I realize I had like no gas, none. Like, shit, probably should have paid attention to that. So I remember passing a gas station. I pull in and I'm on fumes. And I get out and I go to the pump and stick my credit card in, and it's like declined. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? So I had my phone, and I hit and I like looked out of the corner of my eye, and there's 3 guys, right, approaching me. It's 10 o'clock. Like, where'd they come from, right? There's like one from the north, south, and from the west. And I'm like, this shit's about to go down. So here I am thinking, I've got my purse on the front seat. They're obviously after my body, my property, my life, right? This is not good. So what do? I took from your class your ATM example.
Right.
And that is when, you walk up to an ATM, know where the cancel button is. And if you see somebody, you act like a crazy person. Like, she took all my money. Like, what the fuck? So I start screaming into the phone that, turn my fucking credit card on. I have no money. I have no gas. I have no money. Turn my fucking card on. And I'm just screaming like a lunatic. I just kept repeating, I have no money. I have no gas. I have no money. I have no gas. Right?
Can I just inject something here for people listening? Because if you haven't watched the ATM video, just Google Tony Blauer ATM video. There's 2 of them, but we released these, I think, in 2007, and then at several camps we talk about it. We always encourage people. We send it as a preload. The principle of it isn't just aside from the fact that ATM is an obvious place to get mugged, right? Because it's a machine that you extract cash from. So bad guys aren't looking for you at the playground. They're looking for people leaving ATMs, right? And notoriously, gas stations near highways and exits are also prime locations for purse snatching, carjackings, and stuff like that, because people are on their phone, not paying attention, purse in the front seat, sometimes keys in the car. And a lot of shit goes down at gas stations. And so the video, not only does it show you some practical tools, but the big thing here is understanding the psychology of devaluing yourself to the attacker. The operative principle, the takeaway, the strategy is, how do I devalue myself during remember, property, body, or life, a mugging, some sort of abduction or a physical attack, and then of course secondary crime scene murder. How if the bad guy goes, this isn't the right person anymore for me, how do we devalue ourselves? And when you were screaming, if you were just screaming, hey, turn my credit card on, bitch, that doesn't devalue your purse. Right. And so that's critical for the people listening. I have no gas, which means don't steal my car. I have no cash, which means don't steal my purse. I have no credit card access, which means don't steal my credit cards. And I'm fucking crazy. Listen to me, I'm a lunatic. Right. But go on, pick up the story there.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I did. And again, lunatic, right? Because I just remembered your video, like lunatic. And I'm pretending I'm not really focused on them, but yet I'm focused on them. My heart's beating a million miles an hour, and they turn around. But in the meantime, of course, I get connected. They turn on my credit card. I pump $5 in, and I get out of there.
Right.
But it was such a, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe the moment, because I think I did email you the next day. I got home and I was like, holy shit, that was terrifying. But what didn't I use? Any cool ninja tricks? I didn't have to punch somebody or elbow somebody or do some spin kick. No, I removed myself as a target, and that was exactly it. Ironically, met a girl. I was talking about it, and she's like, do you see this? And she's pointing at her 2 front teeth, and you could tell that they were replaced. And she said, I was in that gas station. The reason I don't have real teeth anymore is because she was carjacked and beaten and dragged out of her car in that exact gas station.
Whoa.
Yeah. She got her, she was still sitting in her car, like fumbling through her purse, and guys came up from behind her, slammed her head into the steering wheel, grabbed her by the back of the head, dragged her out of the car, kicked her, stole her purse, stole her car. I mean, that would have been me. Like literally, no doubt that would have been me in that exact gas station. I was like, thanks, Tony Blauer.
You know what's funny, and it's a horrifying example, but like the biggest thing, I don't know. I don't want to go off on one of my rants. I want the show to be, I want these No One Special shows to be tight and short and really about you. But I get so frustrated because people want to learn the ninja, right? They like, and I'm going, no, it's all about situational awareness and self-awareness. Because if you've ever been near real violence, if you've ever been touched by real violence, you know, you don't want it to happen again. You want to be as far away from that shit as possible. And when you know, like just the simple stuff of trust your gut, like we've refined our message to just tell people, listen, choose safety. Always choose what is the safest thing you could do. And do you give your brain permission to kind of like improvise these strategies? So in the course, we're giving people like these brain-based tools to help massage this what I call it abstraction. If you know A and you know C, you're going to figure out B. But if your training is just like linear and where we go, like, here's how you get over a headlock, here's how you get over a choke, here's how you get a bear hug. Well, guess what has to happen, Jen, for you to test those moves? You got to let yourself get in a headlock, right? Right. And sometimes the emotional, psychological impact, like you described, you're pretending not to be aware of them. Your heart's pounding, but you had something to think about. So you could get in role and be this character, this lunatic, and really thinking like, I hope this fucking works. Right? Did you know it was going to work while it was happening?
No, absolutely not. I was praying it wasn't going to work.
Or praying it was going to work.
Excuse me, praying it was.
I hope this doesn't work. No. I hope this doesn't work and I get to fight.
Yeah, praying it wasn't going to work for them.
Right.
Because I was terrified. I mean, terrified. But I did, don't even ask me where that recall came from with you and the ATM. And it was there in a split. And I fucking crazy, right?
Well,
I'm going to be crazy girl. I'm going to be lunatic. I'm going to be not the target. I have no gas. I have no money, right? I've got nothing. My credit card doesn't work. Leave me alone. And by the grace of God, right, that worked. I shouldn't say by the grace of God.
I'm going to, we don't edit the show. So, that's part of your emotional ritual, like, thank God, like people say stuff like that, but guess what? Thank you, because you did this. Listen, I've had a number of stories in the past where people say, like you sent me an email, hey Tony, you saved my life. And I don't know if you remember my reply, but I never, ever, 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 ever fucking take credit for your victory. My reply to you back all those years ago, if you can find it, was like, hey, you did this, I didn't do this. And I always, and I want to remind you of that right now, when because if you give me some credit for this, then unconsciously maybe you think you need to have some sort of continuing education or relationship to maybe use this again. The magic of our content, Jen, and again, this is audio, so you guys can't see how Jen's absorbing this and listening. But the magic of the content is that it's not common sense. People come up to me all the time. They say, well, that was common sense. And I go, then how come you didn't know it? It's not common sense. What it is uncommon sense. And the magic of uncommon sense is when you hear it, you hit your forehead and go, fuck, why didn't I know that before? Property, body, or life, devalue yourself. That will change and enhance your survivability quotient. I don't know, like 100x, 1000x. It depends who you are, where you work, and what you're doing. The why you remember the stuff is because the research is so behaviorally sound, and we don't share it in a pedantic fashion. And I use the word pedantic on purpose to create an obsequious relationship. And I use that word on purpose. Like, we don't talk like that. I'm being facetious right now using these big words, because what we want is, in an end user experience, we want something that is easy to memorize, that sticks with you, that when you hear, like, those who talk can usually be persuaded to walk, and you hear that and you go, I got to remember that. That's about choice speech. That's about de-escalation. If I tell you bad guys only want property, body, or life, that's a short list. So you got to make some decisions fast, right? You've got to trust your gut. You've got to trust your instinct. If at the, we break it down into D1, D2, D3, detect and avoid, defuse and de-escalate, and then if push comes to shove, you got to defend yourself. You hit these guys with a strategy at D1, right? At that situational awareness phase, and you devalue yourself, using some verbal tactics. And during that period, and this is what's interesting, had they continued to encroach, you had already prepared your body for fight, because you were enraged, you were acting, right? You were actually, like trying to turn into the Incredible Hulk, as a metaphor. So imagine if you're hiding in a fetal position, hoping you don't get caught, and then they lift up the covers or open up, move the desk or open the door, and you're in there sucking your thumb like Jim Carrey in the Dumb and Dumber scene, right, in the bathroom, going, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And I make fun because at that moment, like think about this: had you had to gouge somebody in the eyes or bite somebody or kick somebody, you have two choices. You can be fetal, or you can be fucking jumping around going, I don't have any fucking money. Like, which one is going to support a counterattack? Right.
Exactly.
Right. And so, thankfully, like I know, I don't know if you remember we always tell in the course, bad guys only want property, body, or life. But we also say bad guys don't want to get caught, and they don't want shit to take too long. Right. And so your strategy, the way you played that, was that perfect marriage between, okay, I got to devalue my person, my car, and me. And they don't want to get caught. They don't want things to take too long. Like, this is perfect. This should work. And unfortunately it did, but had it gone to the next level, and you had to fight, you'd have been as primed, your pre-fight ritual is all freaking ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. What else can you remember? What else can you remember from that? Like, if you were going to share something, like, to somebody, like, and I'm sure you've talked about this to, girlfriends or friends or families, just in tips, like something will happen and I'll pull my daughters and my wife aside and go, hey, this happened here. I want you guys to remember this, blah, blah, blah. Have you shared this with other people in the spirit of proactive, hey, remember this, trust your gut, whatever, any stuff like that?
Yes. I actually I've talked about that incident a lot. I've talked about, there's a couple other things I want to talk about, because I talk to my girlfriends a lot, where I see behaviors in some of my friends that, why are you doing that? Do you realize the situation you're putting yourself in? It drives me nuts, right? And I think it's because I've had a couple of incidences where you never want that to happen, right? But I look at some of my friends, I'm like, you're walking targets. You might as well have a neon sign over your head that says, attack me, right? Rob me, rape me. Like they do some stupid things. And I'm sure I do stupid things till this day. Living in Park City now, I feel like I'm in a bubble because I feel very safe here. Actually, that I'll segue that into my next story, which was a third I didn't think I was going to share. And then I realized, wait, this is another incident. I live in a guard-gated community. It's very lovely. It's the place where people don't lock their doors. You know, it's up in the mountains. And I was going to a charity event. So I'm all dressed up. I've got my hair done, but I'm in like my sweats, right? I called Uber and I got my dress ready for this thing. And I walk out of the door and go to get in the car. And this guy looks me up and, how you doing? I'm like, okay, that's odd. Whatever. I'll let that go. I go to open the trunk to put my dress in there. He's like, no. Put it in the back seat. Okay. Put the dress in the back seat. He's like, no. Just the dress in the back seat. You should sit up here so your dress stays flat. All right. The conversation just got so weird so fast. It was, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to this charity thing. My husband and I are going for the Huntsman cancer. Oh, your husband, right? And I was like, okay, dumb Jennifer, here we go. And every one of his questions was like, who do you live with? What is your family? Huh. Does your husband travel? Like all these things.
Where do you keep the key when you're not in the house?
Exactly. Like, are you home alone a lot? And I'd actually just gotten a German Shepherd puppy, but to him, I'm not afraid. I've got a trained attack dog. She actually kills on command. Nice. Oh, really? I said, yeah. Well, how does she know? I'm like, she's trained in German. I said, trust me, if anyone's getting through that door, they're not getting through her. And if they do get through her, they're definitely not getting through my arsenal. I have no problem shooting somebody right in the face. And he was just like, whoa. But his shit just was so creepy, right? And like, he kind of didn't let up. I'm thinking, this guy's not getting the hint, right? This is really bizarre. And I'm like, do I tell him to let me off? Well, you can't. You're going down the canyon, like to Salt Lake City. There's no place to let off.
Right.
It's a very windy road, right? So I just tried to change the subject. He kept trying to go back. I'm thinking, all right, do I stop talking? Do I do more of the dog, the gun thing? And I just stopped. And I was like, I have the hottest cup of coffee in my hand. I have my Contigo. I just made myself a tea. I took my lid off and I just sat there with my steaming hot tea, right? Like steaming hot. I'm like, this is quite the freaking weapon if something goes wrong, right? But it was interesting to see how he just went for, where do you live? What's your schedule? Do you have kids? It was so freaking creepy, Tony. And I'm like, am I imagining that? No, I'm not. Because my gut told me there's something not right with this guy. Right. Like he didn't want me sitting in the trunk. He didn't want me sitting in the back seat. He wanted me in the front seat. And I'm just like, part of me was pissed. It's like, well, shit, you should have just called a different Uber. Well, not really. In Park City, you're waiting 25 minutes. I would have been late. Then Damien would have been pissed and that, right? But every answer I gave him was, again, trying to remove myself as a target. I don't know if I did the best job. I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back because I felt like I walked into that trap a little bit. But what the heck, man? There are some creepy people, and you hear about things with Uber or Lyft or these ride sharing things, and I don't know.
It's so what ended up anticlimactic ending in that there was no superhero action.
No superhero action, but it was just, again, like, remove yourself as a target, Right. I've got this crazy dog that's going to kill you. I've got an arsenal at home. I will shoot you. I'm not afraid to be home alone. Like, come get it. The other thing I said to him, actually, I said, Well, you notice how I walked outside. I didn't need to know that you were here. I said, all my motion sensors and alarm. I said, I got you on camera.
Right.
I saw you
Nice.
coming down the driveway. So that's why that's like, you didn't have to say, hey, your Uber driver's here. I saw you coming. So
Right.
everything I said was just trying to deflect. I'm no
Sure.
longer your target.
No, that's super, super smart. You can, you just reminded me of an incident, years ago in New York City. Literally, my son's 26 now. He was still in a stroller. So maybe 24 years ago, I just done this big training, for a private family and their bodyguard and their kid. And, I had just purchased, a nice watch as a celebration, and there was before, this is years before digital, and I was really into photography, and I was buying some film at a camera store, and I went in and I'm at the counter, and the guy says, I said, hey, can I get, there was this special type of film that I was looking at. I go, I need a packet of that and packet of that. And he screws up the name, and I reach across the counter to point, and I got this brand new watch on, and it's all shiny. And I point, no, that one over there. And he says, nice watch. But the way he said it was like, your Uber driver, there was something wrong. And I want our listeners to understand this. I'm not here to say, hey, like to talk about what kind of watch it was or whatever, but it was the difference between somebody going, wow, nice watch, and nice watch. Like I will own that soon, or and I got such a bad feeling from it right away. And there were a lot of scams in New York, and there still are all over the world, where somebody sees the target and calls their buddy 2 blocks up, gives them, description and stuff. So here it was this, like, as a single dad, I had a 3-year-old in a stroller walking around with a camera and a Rolex, and what am I going to do? Get in a fight and chase somebody if they, and I said it when he said nice watch, and I'd already, been practicing my devalue stuff, and it was all part of a different way to teach self-defense. Like since 1980, I've taught reverse engineered from a scenario perspective, understanding the behavioral, psychological aspects, not just the physical. And as soon as he said nice watch, I snapped it back, and I went, this thing, and I tap it and I shake it, and I go, $50 at the fucking corner there. It's all actually almost the same weight as a real watch. Like just up the street there on the corner of the 5th and 47th, right? And you just see like his shift, but like no one's going to call his buddy and go, hey, go mug this guy, he's got a fake watch, right? It just, and people ask me sometimes, they'll say like, yeah, but what if the guy wasn't a mugger? And I'm like, my answer is, so who cares? I'm still safe. And that's this is that umbrella, choose safety. So even if you were just feeling a little paranoid and this guy was just a nosy and there was no danger, there was nothing wrong with everything you said. It was really clever. And at the end of the day, you're safe. And if he was, gathering intel for his gang or whatever. I mean, there's so many scams out there. I remember a guy telling me about a scam with his travel agent where somebody inside the travel agency was setting up hits on houses because they knew when all their clients were fucking traveling. Right. And there's so much shit out there. You don't have to answer this, but hopefully you reported the guy to Uber. There's so many creeps, and you've got to have the courage. And I want to throw this out here. A lot of times what secures a victim's fate is their inability to do what's right for them because of some social consciousness, because of some cognitive dissonance, because they're like, well, I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't want to embarrass myself.
I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah. And that's all bullshit.
Totally.
Totally. At the end of the day, like, you got to do what's right for you. And if it escalates into, hey man, that was embarrassing the way it's very easy to say, I'm sorry, I thought you were a fucking rapist or a murderer. Right? I mean,
exactly.
At the end of the day, because like the downside of choosing safety is that you enacted this role to give this like false evidence and diluted this attention. But the flip side is to ignore it or shut it down because of cognitive dissonance and being embarrassed to embarrass somebody or assert yourself and find out, oh, this is a bad guy, right? And I did tell him my routine, or I did get into the trunk, right? Or, it's crazy. What else? You said there were 3 incidents.
Yeah. So this next one was, it goes to it's not your famous line, but you talk about it often. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right. And I just want to say something here, because everyone quotes Mike Tyson as having said that. Mike Tyson was a boxing historian. Mike Tyson got that from a very famous heavyweight boxer, Joe Louis. And who knows if Joe Louis even said it, but the actual, I just need to, anytime I hear that, I need to tell everyone where it comes from. Joe Louis, the boxer, golden age of boxing. He said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Exactly.
So, I'm sure everybody thinks that the next story is I got punched in the face, but that's not really how it went down. I was in Austin, Texas. It was a couple of weeks before South by Southwest. I mean, Austin, great city, right? Super fun, lots of music, lots of bars. We were there scouting out some venues and whatnot before South by, and pouring rain, like Texas pouring rain. And the girl I was with, we're going to run to the car, and she left the bar, 15 steps in front of me maybe. And when I get outside, I can see her ahead, but I see her like literally like in the corner, right, of a building. And there's 3 guys standing around her like triangular, and she's in the corner. Like, you want to talk about, I knew immediately something was very wrong, right? Immediately. I kind of went running over there and I said, is there a problem? And Tony, this guy looks me dead in the eye without pause and says, we're going to rape your friend. Jeez. And I literally have goosebumps like from head to toe just thinking about that. And I got very upset talking about it, because who says that, right? No one. There's never a time that I can think of that's ever a joke, right? That's never a joke. And I'm literally shaking telling the story. That guy had a plan till I punched him in the fucking face. Let me tell you that. Right. It was the only thing like I could think, right? Like, he was so, and there's 3 of them, right? There's 3 of them. She's tiny, tiny little Asian, right? She's probably 85 pounds, literally tiniest little thing. And I was like, not on my watch, dude, right? Like, so I just punched him and I got him right in the jaw. It was amazing. I didn't knock him out, but I knocked him back, right? And it's, what do you do to remove yourself? And again, not these cool, what am I going to do? Stay there and box the guy? No. See ya. Like, get the fuck out. His friends they were like, whoa, what? Like, what? Nobody knew what the hell happened, especially his friends. Like, holy shit, this girl just clocked you in the face, dude. Right. And he was like, what? Janet went running. And I'm like, I had some choice words. I went running to the car. And I was like shaking uncontrollably. Like, what the hell just happened, right? 3 preppy guys walking down the street of Austin who just like corner her. And like, wait, how did that happen? Yeah. Who sees a girl? Like, I couldn't even make sense of it. But that was another thing that, if I just stood there and froze, like, who knows what would have happened? But 3 of them, 1 of her till I came, 2 of us, and he was so dead serious. Like, I've never experienced anything like that. Yeah, what a creep. Just like, without pause, like, we're going to rape your friend. And just like cocky and air. I'm like, oh, hell no, you're not, you prick. Like, bam. Yeah. dude, no, pick the wrong target. That was, I don't know. I still get so upset talking about that because
yeah,
really fucked up people out there, and whether they're, I don't care whether they're drunk, high, or dead sober. Like, who expects that to happen on the street of Austin, Texas, right? Terrifying.
Yeah,
and so unexpected. Like, if there's one place where I would think that would be very unlikely to happen, it's Austin, Texas, where, I don't know, I love Austin, right? But what was that? Like,
listen, here's the thing about that. And first of all, your friend's lucky you were there. And you know, what you did while, I mean, it was just so incongruent with, you know, like with the guy's idea of how this is going to play out, you know, and what was going to happen. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. You know, they're walking on the street and just going to pick her up and move somewhere or do it right there or whatever. But, or he's just like a dick, like you said. You know, there's things incongruent with it. Was it daytime, nighttime?
Nighttime. Oh yeah, it's probably like 2 a.m. or something.
Okay. So, but I mean, fuck that. I mean, thank God you threw that punch, right? And you know, gave you guys that split second. She took off, gave you a split second to, you know, startle them, and their brains are trying. Because, you know, listen, when we say bad guys don't want to get caught, they don't want to get hurt. What we're talking about is also understanding the psychology of it all, and that is, like, for the most part, if you're in a pseudo public refuge, the bad guy is assuming you're going to be a complacent, helpless victim. And, you know, nobody, and I want you guys to visualize this, like, nobody's walking down the street, sees you and goes, she looks like she's going to collect some DNA in her nails, right? And maybe try to bite my nose off. I'm going to attack her. And like those, and a more visceral, evidence-based example would be the gas station where you diffuse the situation by devaluing yourself is the same gas station where you ended up meeting a girl who got carjacked and lost her front teeth. And so what it is like, people look at, and what they do is unconsciously, the predators unconsciously, like, evaluate, ascertain, hey, what's the likelihood of success here? Is this going to, like, if I'm a career criminal and my job is to do this, you know, because, like, how often does somebody get gas at that gas station, right? And so I'm picking, this person looks like they're going to be a problem. Let's just hang back. Here's somebody else, though. There's 3 people in the car. Let's hang back. Here's somebody who's sitting in her car, like, checking her text messages, right? Mm-hmm. I'll share this story real quick with you. I was meeting my wife and my daughter for tacos one night, and we were all coming from different places. So there's 3 cars. We're outside. It's just getting dark. I get in the car. I'm parked furthest to the left. I start my car. I look over to the right to wave, see you later, see you at home, to the wife. And I see the glow of her iPhone right in her face because she's looking down. And she doesn't even see me. And I look past her and I see a 3rd car down, the glow of an iPhone, because my daughter's looking at her phone in a dark parking lot. Now, this is stuff, and everybody listening to this, this is like the lighthouse for an attack, right? Literally and figuratively. Bad guys are looking for mistakes that good guys make. And so what I did is I get out of my car. My wife sees me get out, and I gesture shh, like with my finger. And I sneak around the back, and I walk up to my daughter's car, and I smack her window, right? And she fucking startle flinched through the glass, and she goes, "Fuck, Dad, you scared the shit out of me." And I go, "Roll down your fucking window right now." And she goes, "What?" I said, "Roll down your fucking window." And she starts to roll it down, and as she's rolling it down, I lunge in, like, through the little, like, when it's 4 inches down, I lunge in trying to grab her, and she lurches back. She goes, "Are you fucking crazy? What are you doing? You're scaring me." I said, "Roll up the window right now." She goes, it's going to hurt your arms. I go, roll it up. She starts to roll it up on my arms. I go, are you crazy? And I pull my arms out. She goes, what the fuck's going on? I go, I'm teaching you something. She's like, her heart's pounding. She's red. She's angry. She's confused. And I go, what are you doing on your phone in a dark parking lot, in an empty parking lot? You're telling people you have no situational awareness. Is your car locked? Is your seatbelt on? Can I break the window? Can I grab you? Can I stick a gun in your face? She goes, and she turns. I go, you shouldn't be on fucking Facebook right now. She goes, I'm not. And she turns me the phone and she says, I'm punching in a GPS to go to my friend's house. So I was like, okay, she's actually using the map. But I go, you could have done that in the restaurant. If you're alone as a young single female walking into a dark parking lot, punching your GPS when you're in the store where you got a manager and other patrons there and stuff like that, just be smart. And I said, let's play this out. What if I had gotten my arms in and got a hold of you? What would you have done? She goes, Dad, you're freaking me out. I go, what would you do? She goes, I don't know. I go, you're going to put the car in reverse. You're going to drive and you're going to tell the guy, hang on, motherfucker, we're going to the police station, right? And drive to a police station, drive to a hospital, drive to some place where there's going to be police and witnesses. And it was an amazing, let me share this with you. This is my 20-year-old daughter. That was a 4-minute event in her life. Me banging on the window, yelling at her to open her window, trying to grab her through the window, making her roll up the window of my arm so that I panicked as the role player, going, get my fucking hands out of there, right? And then telling her if I was stuck in the window to just drive to a police station or hospital saying, hold on, we're going to the police station, right? So I'm asking you this now as a woman who's been through our course and been through the training, how many reps of that do you think I needed to do with Madison for her to retain that the rest of her life?
1.
Bingo. Right. So when you hear property, body, or life, you don't need to go, can we go over that like 10 times? Can we do that every Wednesday night? When you hear it, you just know it's right. That's the uncommon sense shit. So those are like I don't know, there's no formula. When I figure out like a strategy like that, it's a spontaneous evaluation. If I was the predator, what am I looking for? And then how do I, if I'm now the defender, how do I not be that target? And some of it is like what we don't want is we don't want anybody to do the training and then become more paranoid in life. You want to be happy. You want to be chill. You want to go about, your day, your week, your life, but you need to be prepared and cognizant that not only does the rose have a beautiful, smell and it's aesthetic, but it's also, there's thorns on it. If you're not careful how you grab the rose, you might end up hurting yourself. And so that was a very schlocky, cheesy metaphor for people that life can be really beautiful and people can be amazing, but there's also fucking pricks.
Totally.
Right. So, anyways.
You mentioned Facebook, and I only bring this up because the one thing that drives me nuts when I said some of the things my friends do, their phones are never charged. I can't tell you how many times, right? Like, oh, my phone's about to die. Your phone should never be about to die unless you've been stuck in the desert for 3 days and you're right. It on intermittently and you're hoping that you finally get a cell signal and someone's going to rescue you, right? Like, I had a friend who was texting me. She got in a bad situation out with a bunch of people, didn't drive there, got in a group of people. She's somewhere she doesn't know. Someone's being super creepy. She doesn't, I'm like, call an Uber, right? Like, right. Get out, remove yourself from the situation.
Right.
I can't, my phone's about to die. Are you freaking kidding me? Your phone's about to die. You can't call an Uber. You can't, like, right. Go to the bartender and plug your phone in for 3 minutes. Like, do what you, like, get out of there, right? Stupid things like that, Tony, drive me absolutely crazy because I'm always looking at my phone, right? It's always plugged in if I'm near an outlet. It's plugged in my car. It's like, close your apps. God forbid you need to make a phone call. You need to call for a ride. You need to call 911, right? You need to say, where are you located? I don't know. I can't look at holy shit, keep your damn phone charged. Like, it sounds so silly, but when
it's
I was
that
so
simple.
pissed at my friends when I was like, and I was just like, how many times have I told you to get a fucking Mophie? Like, are you like now it's not the time to be mad at her, but holy shit. I'm like, now do you get it? Like, now do you get why I always yell at you to keep your phone charged or like have gas in your car?
Right.
Some of my friends never have like, I get in the car and it's like on empty. What do you do? Like, I did that, obviously. Look, that got me, right? Like in a dark gas station in the wrong part of town that I didn't know, and who knows what would have happened. But shit, why are you getting yourself in that situation? You know, it's even things like that where people don't realize that they do stupid shit every day to make themselves a target where they didn't need to be a damn target. And God, that drives me nuts. Put freaking gas in your car. Like, not, oh, how far could I make it? Like, I think they have a contest. Like, I had 1 mile left on my gas gauge.
I'm glad to hear your girlfriends do that, because I just thought that was a guy thing. I drive my wife crazy with that. I go, no, we can make to the next. And like, I thought it was just a guy thing. So I'm kind of glad to hear that.
No, my girlfriends do that. Drives me nuts.
Crazy.
But I don't know. It's silly. It's silly things like that. But you never, ever know when shit's going to go south. It's interesting. You said, Guy, what you did with your daughter. We had an incident in Vegas, which was crazy. Got in the wrong lane, saying to the car, like, hey, can we get in? Yeah, I'm going to let you in. Hey, Damien, that guy's going to let you in, right? No, he wasn't. He decided this was going to be a game. So when we go in, he speeds up, and I'm like, okay, really? And it turns into this thing like down Las Vegas Boulevard. I'm like, this guy's nuts, right? He's freaking crazy. Rolling down the window, he's yelling obscenities. He actually tried to hit the car from the right side, then tried to hit it from the left side. And I was like, what the hell, right? Get away from this guy. We're pulling into the Aria, or go to pull into the Aria. The guy pulls up, parks the car, gets out. Shotgun is riding a bat. And he comes out swinging. I'm like, holy shit, right? Holy shit. The first thing I did was lock. Damien put the car in reverse. I don't know how he did it. He literally was doing like slalom down Las Vegas Boulevard in reverse, getting away from this guy while he's swinging a bat. We went over a median. Like, it was insane, right? The only good thing I did was I got out my cell phone and started taking pictures. So I got his license plate. Long story short, he got caught, charged with 3 felonies. But that's something you don't expect every day, right? There's just crazy people in the world, and you never know when you're going to run into that psycho, right? That is, by the way, that has nothing to do with me. That was all my husband. That guy definitely, thank you, Damien, saved my life. That was terrifying, right?
Well, you're both switched on. A lot of people just, they're that, I mean, the physiological, psychological impetus for startle flinch is a stimulus being introduced too quickly. And what happens at the moment we flinch is we lock up, and some people continue to retain this fetal position psychologically, and that becomes like what I call emotional inertia. They don't move. So that's the person in the car going, no, and they're like freaking out. But other people, I don't know, what it is with your environment or background or genetics or a whole bunch of things, where both of you, exhibit really switched on behaviors of like, oh fuck, I'm getting out of here, hit reverse, get the phone out, or the way you handled Uber, or even what happened in the original gas station incident.
But what's interesting, Tony, like I don't remember you asked in that class, like, what do you hope to get out of this? And I wish I could remember what my answer was, because like everybody kind of looked at me, and it was, you even said, well, that's something I haven't heard before. And I wish I could remember what it was, right? Because I am 100% the person who would have gone into the fetal position and be like, holy shit, like, don't hurt me.
Right.
That absolutely was me. So I will 100% say your class, like, switch something in my brain, truly. I don't know what it was or what during the course, but I 100% was that person.
Interesting.
Before the class. And I wish I could remember what I said, because it was definitely like from a point of weakness that I said it. I can't remember what it was, but I went in there like, holy shit, I'm not sure I could defend myself. Right. Like I don't know if 3 people came at me, what would I do? I don't know how I would react. And now it's just like, it's not even about a physical fight, right? It's just do what you need to do to get out of there and get safe.
And that's the biggest thing in the course. And it's frustrating because, we're marketed in a community that also has every other, take these 10 lessons, learn how to kill, learn how to break somebody's neck, become a ninja, and even though there's a ton of amazing martial arts out there, it's a lifelong cultivation. And when we tell people, like, learning how to protect yourself, learning real world self-defense is not the same as learning martial arts or combat sports, or even studying Krav Maga or something, which is like years of pursuit, because you're still, even though there's more of a street flavor, you're still learning systems and methods and techniques and movements. And our whole thing is really about understanding how the brain makes decisions under duress, and the whole cycle of behavior. If you remember the neural circuitry of fear, and how do you like look at a scenario and go, shit, this is the fear loop, and these are my expectations, my beliefs and stuff like, and it's, we have a ton of again stories. That's what actually inspired the No One Special podcast concept, because we have, like, I got one, I'm trying to track this guy down, a 70-year-old guy from the Philippines, does something where an altercation happens and with, some crazy driver, and he's with his wife and he's 70, and he emails me to thank me, and the message is, look, I'm no one special. I'm this 7-year-old guy in here, and this violent altercation happened, and I was able to, to use some, but the guy never trained with us. He read an article, or he listened to a podcast. And sometimes, in fact, we just reposted it. Andy Petranek from Whole Life Challenge. He interviews me last year. We do this 90-minute podcast. His audio technician, listening to the program, like to compress it and take out the couple of times that we coughed or, paused or, just to clean up the audio. He goes out to have dinner, I think, with his mom after, and almost gets like into a confrontation with a few guys, and uses our 3Ds and when we talked about de-escalation, uses the principles from that to get out of a situation, calls Andy and says, holy shit, I almost got jumped last night, but I used this stuff from the podcast. Well, what was his relationship to me? It's like, if you go to LinkedIn, right, you got your primary, your secondary, your third. This guy was like an audio technician who just happened to have like headphones on, listening to it, not even like listening to it, right? Listening to it for sound, but was able to absorb or pick up stuff that he used like a half an hour after finishing the compression to get out of a violent encounter. So Andy calls me up. He goes, dude, you're not going to believe this. He ends up posting that the podcast, he mentioned that listening to me, he said, how did he word it? Something like you can listen to Tony and it'll actually make you safer. Right. And so, and I say that, not, pat myself on the back and shit like that. I spend fucking hours, if I'm posting, I post content every day trying to make people safer. This is my life. This is what I've been doing for decades. I look at every word, every phrase, everything, and I go, how are people going to internalize this? Because you can't get reps in this. When I did that thing with my daughter, I knew we can't do reps of this. How can I make this and imbue this information right now. When you did that course, I don't know if I'm ever going to see anybody again. So like, we give 110% every course, and we try to be as passionate about the principles as possible. And we make sure that they're holistic and they're three-dimensional, because the least important thing that I can teach you is how to do a palm strike. That means shit is already so far gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's all the brain-based stuff, the emotional, psychological. And this is kind of a long-winded answer to, you don't know what it was that made that switch, but that's the magic in the system, is we don't know which part of your brain and your past, current, and future experiences is going to, it's like a multivitamin. We just give you the multivitamin. We don't know where you're deficient, but you just go, hey, I don't know. I feel completely different after that. And we've had in more, like I just did an interview with Kevin Ogar. For people who don't know, Kevin is, Kevin was paralyzed in an accident during a competition where he pitched a snatch, and it was on an unlevel platform. It hit another weight, bounced back, and hit him in the spine and severed his spine. Kevin's best lift as a result of being paralyzed from the waist down is bench press. After our 90-minute fear block, the next day, he went back to the bench thinking about some of the new ways to look at fear and look at performance, and PR'd by 20 pounds. If you know Kevin and you look him up online, I mean,
I don't know him, but I'm very familiar with who he is.
So, yeah. but I'm just talking to anybody listening to this. The guy is one of the most mentally tough, positive people. He's runs a CrossFit box. He travels the world teaching. He's developing programs for adaptive athletes. So like a PR at that level, when you're like that mentally focused, a PR is a fractional weight, not 20 pounds.
Right.
And I just share this with you because he just heard a talk, and then there suddenly snapped something in his head. I'm lifting in the fear loop, right? And if I think like this, and so we ask a question, like when you say, and we don't remember what you said in the class, but if you have this kind of victim filter running or victim program running, well, I'm here because, my husband thought it'd be a good idea, but I'm really like, I don't expect anything to come out of this because I'm pretty much a wimp. And that's not what you said, but like, right, that victim, you hear the right stuff at the emotional, psychological level, and suddenly you realize that, self-defense is a choiceless choice. You're not going to be able to change your size. You're not going to be able to change your gender. You're not going to be able to change your location. So you can either cooperate with the bad guy, or you can get in the fucking fight and fight back. And then we're giving people tools, of course, that aren't codependent on your size, your flexibility, or your, when he does this, just crescent kick the gun out of his hand like this video of Chuck Norris. Like there's the biggest emphasis in our program, of course, is the detect and avoid, defuse, and de-escalate, so that it's morally, ethically, legally sound. So, and if the fight happens, but you do everything you can to avoid it.
Well, you gave us so many valuable things. I mean, so many. I remember you were talking about if you think you're being followed, right? Like, what to do, change slide. They change, you turn around, are you following me? And someone's like, why the hell would you ever? That doesn't make sense. And you're like, really? Do you want a 30-foot notice or like 3 inches, right? Like,
right.
It's so like, I swear I could remember so many different takeaways from what you said, and they just stuck with me because after I punched that guy in the face, I was even upset about that, right? Like, I'm not proud that I punched I don't like violence. It's just like not my thing, but I did what I had to do, right? To get away. And I think you told the story of a girl who was being attacked, right? And she took that one little opportunity, right? Where somebody made a mistake, moved an arm, did something.
She'd been cut at knife point. She was getting raped, and she realized he was going to kill him. And she said, oh my God, this guy's going to kill me. I don't want to die. And she said at that moment, she realized that she had to fight. and she looked up, she was on her back and he was on top of her and had her arms pinned and his right hand was holding the knife. She opened her eyes because she was like hiding from the fight, right? Or like, total eyes closed, head turned. She opened her eyes just a little bit, and at the moment where she said, "Oh my God, he's going to kill me," because she remembered what I said: when somebody uses a weapon in advance of the attack, it's no longer a tool of intimidation. Statistically, when somebody uses a weapon, knife or gun, it's a tool of intimidation. But if somebody comes up to you and like pistol whips you or stabs you or slashes you and then gets to move you somewhere, secondary crime scene, statistically they're going to use that weapon again. So again, property, body, or life. So when she told me what happened, she said, "I heard your voice in my head while he was raping me." He'd already cut her and led her into the alley, threw her on the ground. And then she said, "I heard you say that sentence about the tool of intimidation being used in advance." And she went, "Oh my God, this guy's going to kill me. I don't want to die." When she said, "I don't want to die," she said she went cold with focus. She opened her eyes a little bit, and I remember her telling me this with tears in her eyes. She goes, "Can you believe, Tony, that when I decided to fight back, that he closed his eyes and turned his head right at that moment? Can you believe?" And she said, "Can you believe he made a mistake right then?" And I said to her, "Shannon, he made many mistakes before that, but until you give yourself permission to fight back, you probably won't see them. You certainly won't capitalize on them." And so you've got to give yourself permission to be in the arena, right? To okay, like, I've been put here, I have no choice. But the biggest stuff, and now you made me have goosebumps remembering that story. But the biggest stuff here is again, like it wasn't secret moves. It was how do I give myself permission to fight? And that's statistically, there's somebody fighting back right now, and there's somebody fighting back right now, and they're not, I always tell people, and it frustrates people who teach martial arts, and I don't mean it as a put down. I say, look, there's no real evidence that what we practice manifests itself in a real self-defense situation. And people are like, "What are you talking about?" Well, the demo isn't real life. Well, I'm looking at CCTV. I'm in 30 years training law enforcement military. I see video that CNN and Fox don't get. And I'm watching shit that, whether it's CCTV or body cam or helmet cam, and I'm watching people who are trained for violence, incapable of pulling off the complex motor skills that they were taught. And they're winning and losing fights, but what I'm seeing is primal gross motor movement. I'm seeing fear and danger and aggression, and that this chaotic blend of movement. And the only people that are truly technical and calm are snipers, because they're nowhere near the actual event, right? And I say that literally, but it's like, it's people chuckle at it like you did. But I go, like, if you're on a roof nowhere near the bad guy, like, of course you're going to be really technical. And then I'm not going to turn this into a gunfighting call or whatever, but it's really what we're talking about is when you've got a asocial predator up close in front of you, that the first place that you're hit is your emotional psychological system. And your the way you counter that is by having emotional psychological tools. That's what I gave you at the course. That's what you used at the gas station. Right? It was emotional psychological tools, because that gets into the attacker's brain. And now you're devaluing the whole, and the system like unfolds. And, is it guaranteed? No, fucking, Clint Eastwood said, if you want a guarantee, buy a toaster. Right. And I don't know what that means or has anything to do with this talk, but people go, "Well, how do you know that'll work?" And I'm like, I don't know that it'll work. I just understand behavior, and you want a behaviorally based system. Because if you're the good Samaritan, you just want to get on with your day. You just want to fill your car up with gas. You want to go to your fundraiser. You don't want fucking idiots, interfering. That's that whole indignation concept, right? It was like, how dare you fucking creep me out like this? How dare you threaten me or my family? So, but anyhow.
I am so thankful I met you. Seriously. Like, I'm so thankful. I'm sure there's hundreds, thousands, you've been doing this for so long, thousands of people who you've affected like this. And I can't wait to hear their stories. And I just think it's so important what you do, Tony, because I don't know, like I'll get teary and choked up, but I mean, had I not met you, my fate in that gas station would be different. My fate in Texas would be different. I'm not saying the Uber driver would have been different, but it just would have been different and not good. So I thank you for helping me find the part of me that got switched on, the part of me that makes me more aware, the part of me that makes me use my brain and not think I need to be, you know, a Ronda Rousey in order to get out of a fight, because that's certainly not what's going to do it for you, right? So I think your approach is very different, and it's so solid, and I really, really thank you. I'm very, very happy that we met, and I continue to follow you and will continue to follow you. And I think your work is really important and very unique. So
thank you. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, it's what I do. It's that came out wrong. It's what I mean. It's my life. It's what I do in the, when I was asked when I was 20 years old what I want to do, and I said I want to make the world safer. I think about it all the time. I want people listening to know that, like, I at the cost of spending time with my family, I'm thinking about this shit. I get up in the middle of the night thinking about drills or ideas or writing, or, we're always trying to make the program better. And that's what I mean by it's what I do. It's my canvas. And I'm excited about the, talking to people, like just regular people who don't have like some, like, decades, background in something. And there's no reason why you shouldn't have been like that girl you met at the gas station, the victim, but you weren't. You turned it around. That I had some small part in it by like in the Matrix, where Keanu Reeves had the hose stuck into the back of his head, and he sits there and goes, "Oh, I know Kung Fu," right? You came to the course with an open mind, and even though you had some doubts, you absorbed like a sponge and retained the most essential material. It's exciting. And what I'm most excited about is sharing your story with other people, because it's going to empower, inspire other people. Whether they train with us or not is not relevant, because the actual, like, I'm not selling anything here and you're not selling anything. The information is in the story. The information is in the language. And that's what's exciting about this. It's, the uncommon sense. You just need to hear it once and you're like, fuck, I got it. And that's the cool thing. I remember doing an article interview for Black Belt magazine in the 90s, and I get a letter from some guy. This is pre-email. I get a letter from some guy, thanking me for the system and everything, because he read my article, and then that night some guy broke into his apartment, and at knife point was able to defend the guy from reading the article. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, because sometimes it just clicks, like the way you explain it, right? And if you tell somebody you don't need to train for 10 years to defend yourself, you just need to defend yourself. We've got to get out of this idea that, we've got to understand physiology before physicality, and we've got to understand not to confuse technique with tactics. Tactics are like how we move and how we think, and that fixation on technique can derail you in your confidence, right? Because you feel, oh, I'm not ready yet. My technique isn't polished or developed. But I don't want to go down that road, because that'll be another hour of me talking about that shit.
But you're right. But I mean, you saying that, I think that was, I'll never remember what I said, but I think that was my fear. Like, I don't have cool ninja tricks. I don't know if I can execute cool ninja tricks. Like, why am I here? Can I really? And that's
the hardest thing. That's actually, it's I was joking, but you bring up a good point. One of the reasons people don't come to the course is because, our Be Your Own Bodyguard course is a day long. And if you're like, well, are you really, like if you talk to any martial artist, could you learn to defend yourself in a day? They're going to say, no, that's a scam.
I learned in a couple hours. Are you kidding?
Right?
And it was nothing about
right.
physicality.
Because what they're doing is like I talk about this as the unconscious bias, that if you're studying jiu-jitsu or Thai boxing or boxing or Krav Maga and you've been training for years and there's always somebody better in the class and you're always learning a new move, there's this unconscious assumption that you're still on this journey. And so if somebody asks you, can you learn to defend yourself in a day? Your knee-jerk reaction without education is, of course not. And then because we live in America, or the modern world, you go, well, that must be a scam, right? And here's the thing is, like, if I ask a firefighter, can I learn to become a firefighter in a day? He's going to say no. But if I say, can I learn how to use a fire extinguisher in a day? He's going to say, well, in 5 minutes, you can learn how to do it, right? So if I ask a doctor, can I learn how to be a doctor in a day? He's going to say no. I go, can I learn how to do CPR mouth to mouth and put on a tourniquet in a day? He go, I can teach you that in an hour. So you can have life-saving skills, fire, again, hey, SWAT team. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but let's go with it. Hey, Mr. SWAT operator, can I learn how to be a SWAT operator in a day? No. Can you teach me how to use a pistol or a shotgun for home defense in a day? Yes, right? You can understand where to stand in your house and how to load your gun and where to point it and what are the legal things to say through a door and where not to stand, and right? And so people are confusing when I say learn to defend yourself in a day. I mean, you're living proof, literally living proof. But we're not teaching people how to do a psych. We're not teaching martial arts. We're not teaching brain surgery and like, we're just teaching people how to think, detect and avoid, defuse and de-escalate. And push comes to shove, what are some simple gross motor moves you can use to break contact and run to safety? So, Jen, let's hope to see you come to our camp this summer in Vegas for a refresher.
Our
summer camp?
Summer in Vegas. Come on.
It's in an air-conditioned building.
Building.
I know you're probably, after your Las Vegas trip, you're like, I'm never going back to Vegas.
Oh my God.
I'll send you information on it. It's in August. It's a week, and we're actually doing some really interesting stuff this year in and around car safety. Something that you could be a subject matter expert in. But I'll send you information on it. It's I think the second week of August.
Awesome, and I'll share it all over.
Yeah, and you come as my guest as so there's no charge for you because you're a graduate of the course, and you've
of How to Survive Evil.
Yeah, you graduated Combat University. So
thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. Any final thoughts or anything you want to add? I think we covered everything.
We covered everything. The only thing I want to add, you got to read my friend's book. That's all I'm going to add.
What's the name of it again?
The Terminal List by Jack Carr.
I've had a couple people tell me to read it.
It's phenomenal.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. It's kind of like I had a friend who made wine, and my husband said, "You better say you like it." And I was like, "This is the best." And he's kicking me under the table. He's like, "That's a little much." I'm like, "No, it's really good." And that's what this book is phenomenal. I'm telling you, the book's going to be a movie. I can see it as soon as it's really good. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's a great guy.
Okay, cool.
You'll like it. But I'm really excited to hear your other guests who come on.
Me too. And I have no idea how the show's going to go. And they're like I said, unscripted, no angle, no just sharing information, talking about stuff. Naturally it'll involve, it's people who've contacted me. So, we invariably end up talking about psychobehavior, the SPEAR system, or situational awareness. And people can go, oh, this is about Tony's self-defense system, but it's really about your story. And I have, and I think it's a cool thing to honor and respect, like, the everyday people that make this shit work. When Shannon survived that, what the FBI considers one of the most dangerous predators in the world, which is a rapist serial killer, because this guy had killed another woman in Montreal, and his MO was mutilation after the rape. And Shannon fought him and got away. And, this became in the news and what have you. when I tell that story, and I, for cathartic purposes, for a couple of years, I had Shannon actually come to seminars and talk, because she fought back. She had less PTSD, and sharing her story was empowering to other people. But it was amazing thing is, like, she's, 5'8", overweight, not an athlete. And what I would explain to people is there's no reason that Shannon should have won that fight. In terms of, if you looked at her resume, if you looked at her physique, if you looked at her athleticism, if you looked at her martial art career, it's zero. It's like negative. Why she won that fight was because she fucking went for it. She managed her fear and then went for it. And that's the biggest thing that I can tell people, not just in self-defense, unless you look at self-defense as a metaphor for life. If I tell you, like, don't put shit in your body, eat good food, that's metaphorically self-defense, right? Because you're reducing your chances of inflammation or food poisoning or other dietary shit that leads to other stuff. If I say sleep under these conditions and sleep this many hours a night, that's a type of self-defense too. If we look at ourselves as athletes of life, as opposed to CrossFit athlete or football athlete or martial art, but I'm an athlete of my life, what am I doing for my maintenance and sustainment as I get older? What am I doing emotionally, psychologically, physically to become the best athlete and continue to PR, in balance with aging and stuff like that. So it's a whole deeper approach, and one that I am forced to explore as a human, right? Because I'm getting older, as are you.
We all are.
Right. And that's my whole thing is I just wrote an article on Patreon about the aging athlete. And I said, hey, the message here is, like, everyone reading this is getting older. Right. So, food for thought. Okay. We're going to sign off. Jen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you in Vegas.
In August. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.